What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Original Pagan. If you saw in the last video, I was telling you how I started reading Bhagavad Gita and then realized that you can't just read it, you have to really study it. And although the video that I put out was a completely different video to, I'm just going to get it up real quick, to the subject of the Bhagavad Gita, someone made a really interesting comment, which I thought was fantastic. Let me find out where it is. U59N said, do a chapter by chapter discussion. And so that's what we're going to do. I'm starting with chapter 1. I've literally got notes all over the place. I wish you could see this. Like, it's all over the place. Notes, written notes. I've been writing in the book. I've got everything going on here. So we start with chapter 1. And I'm going to basically make a video per chapter and give you my thoughts on the book. And I think that's a really good way, not only for you to see my progress, but it's a really good way for me to reflect on what I think of the book and what I think of what's going on here, okay? So, chapter 1, The War Within, that's what it's called in this book. So, to start with, the book that I'm reading is the Bhagavad Gita, introduced and translated by Eknath Eshwaran, a classic of Indian spirituality. So this is the particular book that I'm reading, okay? And the way it kind of works, and I don't know whether it works like this in every single version of the Bhagavad Gita, but it gives, the chapter starts with a bit of an explanation on what's going on, and then it ends with the actual, like, verses of dialogue. So the chapter 1, The War Within, how does it start? It starts with this introduction thing, talking about the families. Now, it's... for me, who's not read the Mahabharata or anything like that, it's hard for me to follow all these families, who they all are, what's going on, who's on what side, and all this other stuff. So I've got kind of brief notes on that. Let me get my other book over. I've got other notes on that. But the main thing is that it's... Where is it? It's not Krishna's fight, it's Arjun's fight, first and foremost. I've got that wrote down. And Arjun is fighting what appears to be his cousins, his uncles, his family on the other side. Okay? So it's a fight. It's almost like an in-family fight. Okay? And I'm probably paraphrasing what is a big explanation within the Mahabharata, but we're just going to go from there. We know that Arjun is fighting these other people. Chapter 1, The War Within, is the realization that he is going and he's fighting uncles. And he specifically says, where is it? I've got it wrote down. Of what use is a kingdom of pleasure or even life if those for whose sake we desire these things, teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, uncles, in-laws, grandsons, and others with family ties, are engaging in this battle, renouncing their wealth and their lives. That actually wasn't the part I was supposed to read there. It's the part before that. It says, standing between the two armies, Arjun saw fathers and grandfathers and teachers and uncles and brothers and sons and grandsons, in-laws and friends. Seeing his kinsmen established in opposition, Arjun was overcome by sorrow. Despairing, he spoke these words. And then it goes on to say what I said a minute ago. It's interesting because he has this realization of, oh my God, like I'm just fighting my neighbors, I'm fighting my family, I'm fighting my friends. And he goes on to a bit of a spiel saying things like, interesting things like, where there is no sense of unity, the women of the family become corrupt, and with corruption of its women, society is plunged into chaos. I thought that was a very interesting thing. Near the end, he says, better of me if the sons of Dhritarishtra, weapon in hands, were to attack me in battle and kill me, unarmed and unresisting. And then Sanjaya, who is telling the story, Sanjaya is this person who's not on the battlefield, but is almost like remote viewing this fight, isn't it? With this like divine spirit. And he's kind of narrating around it, saying, overwhelmed by sorrow, Arjun speaks these words and casts away his bow and arrows. He sat down in his chariot in the middle of the battlefield. So earlier on at the start, when he's like, who am I fighting here? he rides his chariot between the two armies, and that's when he sees and he's looking around and he's overcome with sorrow. And that's a great chapter description, the war within, because he's looking and he's thinking, oh my God. So he's doing this. And I've got another thing here about moral duty I've wrote down, and how within this, I won't want to say culture, but way of living, is they think that individuals have a moral duty. And some of them are a moral duty to as a warrior, right? As a fighter. And so they almost have to fight. And so for him, it might be his moral duty to fight, but he doesn't want to. He's overcome with this sorrow, which is super interesting to start off this. You can imagine, you're starting off a new story here. You're starting off something brand new. And this main character who you're following, it's almost as if he's already broken down. If you think of like the hero's journey, you usually have an individual that goes, he goes on a journey, and then he reaches some sort of despair before he's brought back up and becomes the hero. But with this, it starts straight away with despair. It starts with the main person here that we're talking about, Arjun, riding his chariot into the middle of these people who are going to fight, and speaking to Sri Krishna and being like, look what's going on. Like, I'm fighting my friend. Why am I doing this? What are we doing? What are we doing? And Sri Krishna's not there to fight, but he's definitely there as kind of like a mentor in a way. Although there are other people mentioned. Drona, he is someone who's like the way of a warrior, is seen as like a guru. It mentions that he actually taught both sides to fight, which just shows how connected these two families are fighting. And so, although there's not too much to say in this first video, because it is the first chapter and we're only just kind of getting into what's going on, I think it's interesting that the story is coming from a standpoint of sorrow to start with. It's this realization that, and it's the second chapter is called self-realization, so it's probably going to get into that a little bit more. But it's the realization of what's going on around you, who you're actually fighting. And you can extrapolate that. You can extrapolate that and put it into anything, can't you? You can put that into regular battles between humans and being like, these are fellow humans that we're fighting right now. And so it's a very, very interesting start. It's a very interesting... approach to a story. But you do also have to preface that this is kind of like one bit of a story within a bigger story, isn't it? So yeah, here we are. We're starting with Arjun. He's fighting. What do I think of it so far? So far, I think that... Well, I know it's a conversation between the two individuals, right? I know that he's going to be speaking to Shri Krishna and being like, what do I do? And he's almost going to be looking for advice from Shri Krishna. But Shri Krishna's not the individual that's going to just straight up give advice. He's going to be... He's a guru. He's a teacher, isn't it? And just like any good teacher, they don't just give you the answer. They give you the tools to find the answer yourself, which is almost like being given this book in a way. What a great metaphor. It's like being given this book it's a tool of self-realization for yourself. It's a tool to find the answers to yourself. It's not going to give you the answers straight away. That was a good way to end it. It's a good way of telling you a story that gives you the tools of self-realization with a good bit of advice in there and a cool story in between as well. So yeah, chapter 1, I really like it. It gets me interested. It gets me kind of pumped to hear the dialogue. It sets the tone for the story. It sets the stakes of what's actually going on here. If he doesn't stop, he's going to be killing his family. And so he has to sit down for a minute and have a moment of reflection, of making sure he's doing the right thing, reassuring himself, whilst also making sure his army is capable of fighting and doesn't feel the way he feels. There's a lot of emotion going through his brain, isn't there? And his heart. Very interesting. I'd love to know. Do you know what? I implore you guys, implore, I think I'm saying the right word, to read the first chapter with me and go through these videos with me and let me know what you think in the comments section. And we'll go on this journey together and we'll read the Bhagavad Gita together as a community. How many chapters are in it? I think there's 12, right? Am I correct by saying that? 11? Oh, no, there's way more. 18. So this could be a long video. Maybe if a chapter's really small, maybe we can just kind of connect 2 chapters. But I also think sitting down and studying these chapters is actually a really good way of digesting it. Not just for me, and a good way for me to reflect with recording, but also for you if you want to follow along as well. So please join me on this journey if you haven't already on starting the Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 1 done. Let me know what you think in the comments. It's a good start. It's an interesting start. The tone has been set. The stakes are high. Emotions are through the roof. Let's see where this goes. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And until next time, I love you all. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.